Good evening. It's Tuesday. My name is Richard. This is Over and Over and Over Again, and this is, of course, the regular Tuesday clinic show. We've got another decent Arsenal win to talk about tonight. Of course, the game at West Ham on Sunday, which not the greatest performance. We'll come on to that, but an important 3 points nonetheless, which is all that matters at this point in the season. We've also got a really big game coming up this weekend as well against Leeds, of course, at the Emirates. Another game that we have to win. We have to win them all, really, don't we, at this point in the season now for the top four. We're also, obviously, because it was two centre halves that scored the goals at West Ham, we're going to look from the archive section at, some memorable goals scored by Arsenal sort of central defenders over the years. There's been quite a few of them, and I'm sure we'll have a good few of those to look back on as well. So lots and lots to come. The other side of this. So I'll say welcome to the Tuesday clinic. We have got panel in. Melvin's maybe running a bit late tonight. If he can make it, he's got other stuff on tonight. But we have got Dorsey, of course, as always. How you doing, mate, this week? You all right?
Yeah, very well, mate. You okay?
Yeah, not bad at all. Not bad at all. I'll say a little bit more up to date with your shirt selection this week, which is nice. Of course, last season's third kit, I think that was, wasn't it? Which is good. No, it's a nice top that actually. James was here and then he's just disappeared, so I don't know whether he's had some issue with his connection somewhere. But anyway, hopefully James will be back on very shortly. He disappeared before he had a chance to say hello. But anyway, I'm sure he'll be back with us in a minute. Let's just give him two seconds just to sort himself out. I'm not quite sure. He just disappeared there. He was here and he went, and that was it. But I'm sure he'll be back very soon. I don't know if he's got some sort of issue with his camera or whatever it might be. His internet maybe has gone. But anyway, I'm sure he'll be with us very soon because he was here just a minute ago. So we know he's here. He's just somewhere in cyberspace around. But anyway. So, I mean, obviously, the only place we really need to start is, of course, the very important game that we played, of course, on Sunday, Sunday afternoon away across London at the London Stadium. It turned out in the end to be the result that we needed, even though the performance maybe wasn't quite up there with some of the recent. So, yeah, I mean, ultimately, as I said at the beginning there, every game at the moment, this point in the season, just win them. It doesn't really matter how well we play. We're not going to play well every single week. But what actually pleased me, and I've been maybe a little bit critical of this team under Arteta, is generally when we don't play well, we don't win usually. That's been the case far too many times. Whereas on Sunday, it kind of showed that we showed a different side to our game. We didn't play particularly well. It wasn't our greatest performance, but we managed to find a way to win it. As Mikel Arteta said, win ugly. And I think that if you can win ugly at this point in the season, that's what you need to do. And that was really pleasing for me. I mean, Dorsey, what did you make of the performance overall? Because it wasn't free-flowing football. It was quite, it was quite a negative sort of game, really, wasn't it, in many ways? It wasn't an attacking game from either side. It was quite poor. But we got the job done. And ultimately, that's all that matters, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a bit of a weird game. West Ham went with their lineup. There was a lot of speculation about it was going to be a significantly weaker side than what they've been used to fielding. I think they went as strong as they possibly could. I didn't expect Declan Rice to play, and if he did play, I expected him to play as a centre back because they were so short defensively. But yeah, they went significantly stronger than I was expecting them to. So it was, but yeah, we didn't start the game very well, which I think if you don't start the game well, it kind of tends to set a precedent for the rest of the game. So, yeah, it was a very strange game, a very poor game to watch if you're a neutral, regardless of whether you're a fan of either side. But like you said at the top of the show, it really doesn't matter right now. There's 4 games left. We just have to try and pick up as many points as we can to try and get us over the line. So, and yeah, it was nice to see us win a game ugly, which is a really good way of putting it, because you can't play well every single game. It's impossible. You know, even you look back at the Invincibles and however good they were, they had to dig out results as well. So if we can do that, that's a sign of a good, strong unit that you've got there. And we had to make changes as well. Obviously, Ben White, I'm not sure how late that change was made. I didn't hear anything leading up to the game that he was struggling with a tight hamstring. So not sure whether it was the day before or did he go out for the warm up? It wasn't changed before the lineup was announced, was it? I don't think so.
No, it was before. Yeah, it was. I think when the original team came out, Rob Holding was playing already, so it must have been before.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, it could have been on Saturday, couldn't it? Their last training session, he maybe felt it. But I mean, you know that. Yeah, it was a surprise when I saw that lineup. I must be honest, because Rob Holding doesn't get to start many games in the Premier League, does he?
No, he doesn't. And I think we'll maybe touch on Rob Holding a bit later on in the show. But it's you need players like that. You need players that can come in and do a good job. And even El Neni, to a certain degree, he's proven that over the last few weeks with the absence of Thomas Partey. I think he's come in and he's done a really good job over the recent good results that we've had. So, yeah, not the most pleasant of games to watch. It was pretty nerve-wracking at times because we knew how important that win was, and it was disappointing to concede. I was hoping for a clean sheet because I think there's quite a big difference between our goal difference and Tottenham. So it would have been nice to have got a few goals and kept a clean sheet. But 3 points is all that matters, and we managed to get over the line eventually. Two unlikely heroes.
It was two unlikely heroes. And talking about unlikely heroes, there's another one. He's got James now. He's back with us. We had a few technical issues there, James. You okay?
Yeah. Sorry, I don't know what happened there. Your intro started to play, and then all of a sudden the sound and the visual went. So I was like, "Oh, I better back out and try and get back in here." No, I'm here now. Sorry about that.
Yeah, which is the main thing. And we haven't really missed.
Yeah, I caught the intro, so it's all good.
No, that's fine. I mean, obviously, we were just always talking about the West Ham game. Saying it wasn't maybe the greatest performance ever, but I've maybe criticised this team a little bit this season for not being able to get results when we don't play particularly well. We tend to lost a lot of games. If we don't play well, we tend to lose, or certainly not win. So that was actually the most pleasing part for me. That's probably the most pleasing part, actually, because the rest of it, there wasn't an awful lot to take positives from the performance-wise. But the fact that we dug out the result when we were a bit off our game is unusual, and hopefully this is a sign that there's a slight change in maybe the mentality of the players as well to be able to do that in a game that it's a tough game. West Ham away. I know we've got a good record there. They've got Europe and stuff like that in a minute, so and a few players missing, but it was still always going to be a tough game, and that was the most pleasing thing. I mean, what did you make of it overall, then, Jane? Because it wasn't a great performance. Let's be honest.
No, for me, it goes back to this narrative that keeps on happening where when we grind out a result, somehow we're lucky and we didn't deserve it. And we've got this one missing, we've got that one missing. It was like the Chelsea fans the other week, you beat our reserves. I'm like, we got half our bloody main squad out. Yeah. You our reserves beat you pretty much. We got a striker here who's played 55 games or so in the league and never scored, and yet he scores 2 at your ground. Do you know what I mean? That's what winds me up. You can never have the plaudits for whatever reason as an Arsenal fan anymore. You're not allowed. The celebration police come out again, and
everything else. A bit more of that going on. Yeah, exactly.
I don't understand it. I really, really don't understand it. But no, for me, wasn't the best performance from certain individuals out there, but ground it out and done the job that was needed. And the thing that I take away from it the most is especially where I am in Essex, there's a lot of West Ham fans, but there's a lot of other people that support other clubs that watch the game, and they're like, "Oh, you've got so many players that aren't likable." They're like, "He's annoying. This one's." I'm like, "Oh, we're slowly coming back now. If we're starting to wind people up again, then happy days. Happy
it's a good
days.
Sign.
One of my friends was there, and he said, "You're Ramsdale. He's turning around all the time. He went, I hate him. I'm like, good. That's what I want. I don't want you. I don't know. We've never been liked by anybody, even when we were the top. And even as a neutral, I know I'm a fan, but even as a neutral, I'd have gone, "Oh no, I've got to respect this. Look at the football they're playing. It's some of the best I've ever seen in my life." But no, still now, you've got that Whinger who's in charge, and you got these Robert Perez introduced diving into England. Oh right, did he? Okay.
I mean, you're right, and Arsenal maybe have never been particularly liked by the media, by other clubs or nobody. And in a way, I agree with you. I kind of like that. And it got to the point where I felt over the last few years that we'd almost become slightly irrelevant because we wasn't challenging for anything. We were just muddling along, and people didn't really hate us or anything because they had no reason to, because we wasn't a threat to anybody. We were just muddling along mid-table, not doing anything. And suddenly now, without really changing an awful lot, suddenly we're in a stronger position. We look as though we're on our way back, and suddenly again the pettiness comes out from elsewhere, which is good. I agree. I quite like that. I don't want us to be universally liked or respected even. Let everybody hate us. Let us play in that atmosphere, because that's what we've always been used to, and that's when we've got the best results in history, haven't we? When everything's been against us. So I don't mind that. And it's interesting that you say that about suddenly other fans are disliking some of our players, because I've always felt in recent years where we've been too nice. Our players have been too nice.
Yes,
and they haven't had nastiness about them. And I don't think, I don't look at any of our players and look at them. They're not nasty players particularly, but maybe some of them are winding up other fans of other clubs, which is good. And I want to see more of that, actually. As we go on, because I do enjoy that. It's good fun when that's happening. We can have a good fun about it. We've got some comments in there. BX Gunner 81 says, "Evening everyone. Richarlison last game will be a juggernaut." Well, his last game might be already if he gets banned for throwing that thing back into the crowd. But anyway, Everton need a result against us, won't they? Last game of the season for sure. Ryan says, "Evening everyone from Mr. Arsenal podcast." Luke is in the chat as well. And Ryan says, what we just mentioned there, remember, we can't celebrate a win. I mean, that's ridiculous, actually. That some of the comments that were made about, now it seems like, let's just make a comment about Arsenal celebrating because there's something to talk about, even though we didn't celebrate that win particularly madly. I didn't feel that the players didn't. They just did what you'd normally do, and you won away from home. You appreciate the fans' support. Obviously, you're pleased that you've won. Of course you are. Why not? We didn't go over the top with the celebration. Maybe in a couple of other games previously, we maybe have a little bit of one at Wolves, Aston Villa, maybe slightly, but I didn't think we did at this one. So some of them comments about that, I mean, Dorsey, that was a little bit strange for me because we didn't over celebrate this particular win. It's a big win anyway, and we had a right to celebrate anyway. But I didn't feel we did particularly. The players certainly. I mean, the fans obviously were going mad, and rightly so.
I just same as what James was saying. I just do not get it. We're a club that have been struggling for a significant amount of years and only really going in one direction, which was down the table. Over the course of the season, we've managed to pick up some decent results and some decent momentum. And for the first time in 6 years, with four games to go, we got a chance of finishing top four and getting back into the Champions League. Why would you not celebrate that? I understand that fourth is not what everybody wants, and we are the Arsenal, and yet we should be fighting for title. I get all of that, but the reality of it is we aren't at that level at this point in time. So for us to kick on with this project or process, whatever you want to call it, that Champions League, we all know as fans how important that is for us to be able to kick on. So the fact that people are getting the ump that we're celebrating that. If you can't celebrate that, what is the point in following football? What's the point in any of it? There is no point. So I don't get it. And it goes back to both of your comments about pundits not liking Arsenal. Chris Sutton came out with something earlier. Obviously, it was Agbon Lahore a few weeks ago. It's just, I don't know what their problems are, but quite frankly, I quite enjoy it.
It makes me laugh, though, because going off of what you're saying, you talk there about the pundits and everything else. Now, I understand that first game of the season against Brentford was absolutely massive for them. It was the first time they could all go to that new ground. Obviously, we're not the team we like to be at the moment, but beating Arsenal is a scalp, especially for, no disrespect. And Brentford were brilliant. Like, they took advantage of a bit like what we did with West Ham. They had players missing. We sort of took advantage of that and got the win. They saw that we ideally tried to get that game called off. They went, no, it's been promoted, couldn't do it, and they took advantage and slapped us up. But the carry on with Carragher and Neville jumping in with their fans singing "Hey Jude" and all that with them and doing this dancing and everything else like that, that's fine. But yet when it's nearer the end of the season, when there's actually stuff properly on the line, Arsenal, because a few of their players go over to the fans and clap them off and throw shirts, to the lower tier, because there's no way you're getting them up there unless you've got a shirt. That's wrong. I don't get, and then the way that Sky is going now, where they're continually losing pundits left, right, and centre, and Sky Sports News has gone from being a journalistic show to being a bit like what we're doing here, where they're getting fans on to present opinion, because they know now that newspapers and everything else is sort of a dying art form compared to podcasts and YouTube and everything else. And they're like, right, we've got to alter this to sort of get into that market now, because that's the way it's going. It just makes me laugh. I just think it's ridiculous, because I'm like, all the time on all the adverts, you show the goals, but you show a lot of the fans as well. And I'm like, and you're the ones that are giving it, oh yeah, without the fans, we've got no atmosphere and we've got nothing to make the games more interesting. I'm like, but yeah, you're trying to dictate what they can and can't do all the time. And you're lucky because you move all the bloody games around anyway. Yeah. And the fans have to. They've done it again today after everybody's bought
they have,
hotels and everything.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Mad. I mean, the funny thing is, I mean, it's been, the last couple of years or so in life have been quite tough for most people. And now suddenly, we've got our football back. We can go to games again, and people are, I think, making the most of it. And I've noticed anyway, this season the atmosphere has been a lot better at games than maybe the last couple of years before. And not just at Arsenal, I mean, in general in the Premier League, I think fans are just enjoying the experience again of being able to be in full stadiums again. And to have people say, well, you shouldn't, what you're celebrating for, it's like, well, have you not lived through the last 2 years of what everybody's had to suffer? And football's always been a good release, hasn't it, for getting the frustration of your life out of the way on a weekend and stuff like that. And when your team is doing pretty well, you're winning games, you're in a good position to achieve something. If you can't celebrate that, then honestly, what is the point of even having? Why do they even show sport on their TV channel then? If they don't want people celebrating when teams are winning games, and you don't want the fans or the players celebrating, it's just, that's the whole point of it. Surely that's what sport is. Sport is about winning, isn't it? And it's, if you can't enjoy that either as a player or as a fan, or if you're part of the club, I just can't understand what the point of that is. It's just ridiculous, really. And it only seems as it's our celebrations that bother people. Other teams can do what they like. Other players can do what they like. Celebrate nothing, and that's fine. But we celebrate almost on the being verge of achieving something, which for our club at this moment in time is a big thing to achieve. Yes, it isn't, as Dorsey rightly said, it's not what we all want long term, but ultimately we have to get in the top four to progress beyond that. We have to get back in it, don't we? And that's where we need to be. So it's a big deal for Arsenal this season.
Well, and you think as well, considering after the first 3 games, okay, I never thought we were going to get relegated, but no team has ever got, because I think now the minimum we can finish is 7th. And there's never been a team that's been in the relegation zone in the first 3 games get any higher than 8. So that in its own, way is an achievement in a way for that. And then also, I think as well, if you were to get this squad with everything that's gone on into the top 4, like securely in the top 4 as well, not just marginally, but securely in the top 4. I've been a very harsh critique of Mr. Mikel, but I'd have to give him some plaudit, I would have to say. And then I would be going to mainly Josh, because I don't think Stan's as involved anymore. But I'm like, right, okay, you need to provide this guy with whatever he says goes in the summer, because you got to, if he's your man, like you keep telling us, then you've got to prove it. You've got to do another. You got to do another nearly 200 mil again. I know you don't want to, but you're going to have to, because the other teams are going to get even better. I mean, Newcastle haven't even started yet. So
no, you're right. I mean, and I think for me now, if we do get top 4 this season, which we've got a great chance now, we're in with a really big shout at that. If we do, I think this summer is going to show exactly the direction of the club wanting to go in. If we do invest properly in the summer, now we've got the top 4, the Champions League money and stuff like that. If we do invest properly in the summer, and you can see quite clearly that the club have got the ambition not only to just remain as a top 4 team again, but to actually start challenging again, in the next couple of years or so. We'll know that by the summer. If in the summer, again, we're buying a load of young kids, to me, that isn't showing the ambition for being in the top 4 as we need to. Maybe last summer you could understand it, the position that we're in, no European football. But now, if we are back in the Champions League, this is a massive summer for not only for us as fans to see, but actually for the club to make a statement and say, yes, we are seriously. I only know Josh, if he's going to be the one taking control of it, or as you said, to say, look, we're not just going to settle for what we've made, where we've been. We want to build something now. You know, we trust the manager. We're gonna try to build and you know, and try to challenge the likes of City and Liverpool. Not straight away, obviously. It's going to take time and investment, but we've got to start that process. You know, that's the next step, though, isn't it? If we get in the top 4, that's the first part done, which is what we needed to do. Now we need to go to the next step, which is to find a way of bridging that gap between getting to sort of 4th, 5th, 6th place in the league, actually challenging those top teams. That's where we need to be, you know, eventually in the next, and not just, you know, in 10 years' time, in the next 2 or 3 years now. That's what the aim should be. If they really trust Arteta to do that, then back him in the summer, give us proper players that we can build a team around, that we can push on, not just a load of kids that may be good in 4 or 5 years or 3 years, that we can actually build now. We can start that process to move to the next level, because that's what we all want as fans, you know. And what I'm getting very annoyed about now is it happens on Twitter all the time. You know, Arsenal fans, this has been an ongoing thing for a while. Is it you Arteta in or you Arteta out? Are you as Wenger in, you as Wenger out? No, we're all just Arsenal fans. We want the best for the club. And, you know, when we lose games, we're annoyed and upset and angry. And when we win games, we are quite happy, and if we're in the right position in the league, we're happy again, and that's how it should be. And that's there's nothing wrong with that. You don't have, I don't like all these dividing all the fan base up. We're all just Arsenal fans, aren't we? We want the best for the club. We want to do the best that we can do, and at the moment, you know, getting in the top 4 is massively important, and then it's a matter of moving on. And I've said it before, who the manager is to do that, I don't know. If Arteta's the man, back him, give him the money, and let's see next season how we do with a Champions League campaign on top of, you know, all the domestic competitions as well. Let's see where we are, and, you know, then we can start looking at exactly what position that we're in. It's difficult at the moment, isn't it? For me, I'm still, you know, I'm a bit like you, James. I've criticised Arteta, you know, pretty much most of the time he's been here, because I've not been convinced about so many things that's gone on. But ultimately, if we get top 4, what more could we want from this season? Brilliant. That's you know, we've achieved whatever, well, more than we could have perhaps anticipated we was going to. So that's, credit's got to go to Arteta. You're absolutely right, and he needs to get that.
You're spot on with what you say as well. Is that when there's multiple competitions instead of this, you know, one a week that we're doing at the moment, that's going to be a big test. And for me as well. Yeah. Only once this year has he come back from being a goal down and won, and that was Wolves at home. Wolves, so I'm like, you've got to show a bit more of, if you're behind, what have you got? You know, what have you got in your arsenal to come back? That, pardon the pun, but you know, that's the test for me, because I'm like, normally it can be goal down. Oh, there's a second. Oh, there's especially against the, you know, the Cities and the Liverpool. Yeah. And I'm like, that's what you've got to stop is that, you know, hemorrhaging goals left, right and centre, and playing with some kind of adversity. And I think in Europe, you're going to get that, because as well as people going about, oh, you got your Bayern Munichs and your Madrids and everything else, you got those, you know, Shakhtar Donetsks, or if they're going to be allowed in it, or clubs like Liège and stuff like that give you tricky kind of games.
No, you're right, and that is a point again about, you know, the character of the team, isn't it? When you go a goal down and coming back and getting results, and very rarely have we done that. Like you said, we've only won one game, that was Wolves. I think we were behind against Crystal Palace at home and got a draw in the last minute. So other than that, we very rarely come from behind and got anything, have we, all season? And that has been a problem, and that is something that we need to put right. We showed a bit of character against West Ham, didn't we? Because they got it back to 1-1 just at half time, and that could have been a time when it could have fell apart, and it didn't. So, you know, hopefully that there's more positive sides. But yeah, that is a massive thing as well for me. Is the adversity. That's a good point actually, James. We're playing with adversity, because we are going to get that a lot more in the Champions League when we're playing against better teams on a more regular basis, especially if we get through the group stage into the knockouts. Then, you know, after Christmas, when things heat up, you've got the FA Cup hopefully and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I mean, that is a thing, and it is something we need to sort out. Ryan has put there in the chat that Villarreal have scored and are now back in the tie. Surely Emery won't pull this one around. Of course, they're playing Liverpool, aren't they, in the Champions League?
Wouldn't surprise me. He's like Benitez. He's a master of a two-legged game. He's very good at two-leg games. He really is.
He is. And, you know, everyone criticised them last week for the way they played actually at Anfield, but he was playing it as a first leg away from home, wasn't he? Ultimately, that's how they played it. They've given themselves a chance now, and who knows? I mean, wow, that would be incredible, wouldn't it? If Emery got he won the Europa League last year, gets to the Champions League final this year. Wow, I mean that would be absolutely incredible. But anyway, we'll see what happens. I'm still sure Liverpool go through ultimately, but we'll see what happens in the next hour or so. I'm sure we'll get updates on that as that game goes on as well tonight. But yes, I mean, I say West Ham overall then was a good result, if not a good performance. But one of the things that really stood out for me, and it's been a theme all season, it's been gradually improving, is set pieces. Now we've got that new guy there doing set piece coaching with us, and at the start of the season, I think a few of us think, well, what's he actually doing? Because it didn't seem to be a lot of improvements. But as the season's gone on, we've started to be stronger and stronger at both ends of the pitch from set pieces, and of course, both the goals at the weekend came from set pieces as well. So I mean, Dorsey, what have you noticed? The big, it's been a massive improvement in that area at both ends of the pitch, hasn't it? And the work that they're doing on a training pitch, you can actually see it now is starting to show on match day, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Defensively, it was always a worry when we had corners against us because we were so soft. I was always worried that we were going to concede. And when we had offensive corners, it was like, you might as well just have a goal kick. Well, what's the point? You just get the game going again because we had no threat whatsoever. We didn't have the right play. And even when you had players like Giroud, and we all know how good he was in the air, but even then, just the way we took the set pieces just didn't play into his hands at all. But yeah, was it 105 corners we faced this season and not conceded? That's phenomenal. I would never have expected as an Arsenal fan to say that about my team. Not a chance. It's imagine if we go a whole season without conceding from one. It'd be incredible.
Don't say that. Don't say that yet. Wait until the end.
Yeah. But I mean, listen, I obviously follow football. I'm not a coach, so I can't see exactly and pinpoint exactly what they're doing that's made a difference. But certainly collectively, we're a lot stronger at other ends of the pitch. I think Gabriel is the highest scoring centre back in the league this season with 4 goals. Obviously, Rob Holding's come in and got one as well. Yeah, I mean, you can't just enjoy it. That's all you can do is just enjoy the fact that we look a bit more dangerous from set pieces, and I'm not quite so shitting myself when we got one at the other end. I'm quite confident that we can clear the ball. So. Yeah, whatever they're doing on the training pitch, it's clearly over the course of the season it's working. The players are obviously taking that onto the pitch and doing what they're told to do. So great news. I love it. Long may it continue.
We're getting really good at the second phase as well. That's completely changed. And I don't know if that's because we've actually got players now. I remember, Rich, weeks ago when we were sat here talking, you were like, I just want a player to follow in. Do you know what I mean? Like and they're really like that second goal was a bit it was a brilliant diving header from Gabriel and Fabianski. We've all seen that for when he's in goal for us. Bless him. But just didn't give it up, and Holding as well for the first goal completely. That Lanzini, get your hands off me, mate. Off you go, and then bang, see you later. That's the sort of emphasis that we want. And he wanted this guy first time round, but he was under contract at Man City, and he said, look, I don't break my contracts, but I will join you the next year. And he's been proven right. But again, he's done it for whatever he saw at City with him, and went, he needs to come over here with me. He's done a blinder. He's done an absolute blinder. I mean, Liverpool got pelters for when they got this throwing coach, and then they got a specific corner coach, as well as free kicks and everything. And everyone's like, oh, God, why are they doing this? And all the money they've got to pay and everything else. But it proved them right when they took that free corner against Barcelona, didn't it? They just completely all turned around, and it was too late. And they're worked on it. So, it's very, very good. And we've seen teams like Atletico Madrid that, okay, people call them boring and everything else, but they're a team that have got so far, especially in European competitions, relying on the fact that they've got big people in midfield and at centre-back who come up for set pieces. And they're like, if we score 2 set pieces and win, we still win. Don't care what way we do it. You can say whatever you like, but we're the ones that are in the finals, and we're the ones that are, winning the league and everything else like that. So, like Dorsey said, long may it continue.
Yeah, exactly. And it is interesting, isn't it, how it's changed so quickly? Because as Dorsey rightly said as well, we used to be poor at set pieces at both ends of the pitch. We never used to score goals from corners. We never, was a threat. We used to concede far too many. And suddenly it has changed as the season's progressed. I mean, we mentioned before that first game against Brentford, we conceded a goal from a set piece, a really soft goal in that game. And we looked all over the place defensively, and for the first kind of couple of months of the season, a little bit, we were not really that strong. But as it's gone on, suddenly you can see the work that they've done, and you can see the results now every week, pretty much. We're producing stuff. We're a lot more dangerous from corners, and I didn't realise Gabriel was the highest scoring central defender in the league, actually, which is quite interesting. I mean, yeah, that's obviously 4 he's got now, which is decent. And yeah, I mean, it's
not to add, but he's got double the amount of goals than Lacazette from open play.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, he really has. Yeah, maybe he should start taking penalties as well. He might get a golden boot one day. He carries on. But yeah, I mean, set pieces are such a massively important part of the game, aren't they? And they always have been. And you don't have to have lots and lots and lots of possession to win games if your set pieces are good, because you can get 1 or 2 goals a game from a set piece. As you said, we have a great chance of winning most games if that's going to be the case. So yeah, I mean, we're not going to score every single one, and it's not like that. But the fact that so clearly the improvements that we've made, it's clear to everybody, that part of the game now we are really, really strong on. We're probably as strong now as going, or not maybe quite yet, but we're heading in the right direction as we were under George Graham, because that was our real strength, wasn't it, under George Graham, the set pieces at both ends of the pitch. And we're almost getting back towards that now, how dangerous we are from corners now and defending them as well. So I think that's a really big part. And I don't think obviously, as you said there, James, the guy came from Man City, the set piece coach, and obviously he's doing a great job, and he needs to get a lot of credit as well. Arteta's going to take a lot of the plaudits, obviously, because he's the manager and the results are on him. But you have to get the right people in place behind the scenes, don't you? The right coaching staff. And yeah, sometimes you look at it. I mean, I went to a game earlier on this season, and there seemed to be about 25 coaches Arsenal had with them, sitting in the dugout and stuff like that. And you're thinking, what are all these people? Why do we need all these people? There's nutritionists, there's sports scientists, there's all kinds of people. And maybe now we can start to see that perhaps they are quite important, actually, and we need them as well. And do they need to be at every game? I'm not quite sure. They do their job on a training pitch, but anyway. You can see that they are doing something and it's working, and that's great, and it's put us in a good position. And that's one of the reasons I think that the improvement in that area of our play has been one of the main reasons why we picked up more wins this season, and why we maybe conceded less goals from those situations. And as we said before, because we're not tending to come from behind, the first goal is so important in every game that we play, and it's massively important that we score the first goal. And when we do that, we tend to get a result. And this, as we proved on Saturday, the set pieces are a great way to get that first goal. It's happened not just set pieces, not just corners, but free kicks as well. We've scored a lot of goals from free kick situations, and yeah, that's brilliant for me. And the work that we've done, I think I've been critical of that through the season, because it hasn't become too obvious very quickly. But as the season's gone on, you can start to see it now, the improvements that we're making, and it is great. And as we've rightly said, long may it continue, because I think it is a massive part of the game, and it's helped us get to be the position that we're in massively. And we can't criticise that at all. It's brilliant to see. And I say, let's hope that it does continue. And yeah, it is good. So yeah, I mean, obviously the game at the weekend was quite unusual in the fact that 2 central defenders both scored in the same game. The 2 central defenders, which actually is quite unusual. It's not something that happens very often for anybody, actually. I mean, so what I thought we'd look at from our little archive section this week is goals from central defenders, because Arsenal have had a rich history. We've had some good goal scoring centre backs actually over the course of time, haven't we? And it's a shame Melvin's not here for this, because I'm sure he'd have some going back even further back to Frank McClintock days and stuff like that. When we had some great goal scoring defenders before that. So, but I'm sure this is going to be good, because there's a lot of great centre back goals that we've experienced over the years. So this could be quite fun. Obviously, one of the most famous ones there in that picture, Tony Adams scoring in the semi-final against Spurs at Wembley in 1993, of course, one of the most famous centre-back goals ever for Arsenal, certainly in recent history, for sure. And just as we say that, Loki in the chat there, Adams versus the Diddlers at Wembley, exactly, and that's probably the most famous one that springs to mind first for every Arsenal fan, I guess. But there's been so many over the years, of course. I say we seem to have had quite a lot of goal scoring in the centre backs. Actually, scored quite a lot of goals. I mean, Dorsey, what sort of ones stick in your mind? The great sort of goals from maybe the important goals. 'Cause obviously, we've scored a lot that probably haven't meant an awful lot, but actually the important goals from the central defenders over the years.
Yeah, in all honesty, I haven't had much chance to do a lot of research on this, but I do remember a few that have that kind of popped out. I mean, Tony Adams has scored a few, isn't he? Let's face it, he's got a few. I remember another one in 97 or 98. He scored against Spurs at Highbury, left-footed volley. Just what a phenomenal!
Brilliant, that was a great
goal. That was on my list. Yeah,
that was a great goal.
What a finish for someone that was just a proper out-and-out defender. That bloke could play. Like he could play football when he wanted to. But that one jumped out at me. Andy Linnigan against Sheffield Wednesday in the League Cup. Was it League Cup or FA Cup final?
FA Cup final. That was the replay.
Yeah, I remember that one. And then a couple more recently. Obviously, Sol Campbell's against Barcelona in the Champions League final. Don't like to think too much about that game, but it was a goal.
At the time, it was in front, didn't it? So it was a massive goal. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do remember Koscielny scoring a really important one towards the end of the season at Newcastle as well. That was to get us in the top four. Was that 2011 or something like that? 2010, 2011?
2013 it was, last game of the season.
2013. Yeah, I remember that one as well. And I think that apart from the first one you mentioned, the FA Cup semi-final, I loved Tony Adams against Everton, final game of the season when Baldy's chipped it over the top and he's right. I mean, that just still to this day, whenever I see that goal, it still gives me goosebumps. Just seeing that, it's just absolutely phenomenal.
That was my greatest day at Highbury ever that day, just to win the Premier League. And obviously that game was just incredible. And that goal, summed it all up. It did. Yeah. And it was just amazing. That was probably the best goal ever.
I picture of it in the frames down there somewhere.
Oh, I love it.
I was going to decorate the room with them, but yeah.
That was an amazing experience that day, and that goal as well. Yeah, that was. I mean, Tony Adams, he was what he did. I think he is the highest scoring defender in Arsenal's history, as far as I'm aware, historically anyway. He did score a lot of goals, and he had a habit of getting the important ones as well, didn't he? He didn't get many just average run of the mill goals. The ones he did score tended to be big goals a lot of the time. He always seemed to rise to the occasion, didn't he? As a captain, should have. Loki in the text also mentions that one, Adams against Everton. Yeah, I think we'll all remember that. I'll say it's probably the greatest goal from a central defender ever. Left foot volley, from a right-footed centre back as well, which was fantastic. So yeah, that was incredible as well. That's some great goals there actually. I mean, James, what's on your list? And obviously the couple that have been mentioned probably that you had. I mean, obviously
Dorsey done my top three because that one, the volley, Sorry, the volley. That's all right. No. I knew we would probably all have them as the three that were going to be the top. Because the volley versus Spurs, it's the set by Bergkamp because it's just literally that could have been any player. The way that he's lifted that, you're like, oh, thank you very much. Like my mum could smack that in because the way that it's lifted is so perfect. It's insane. But I was trying to rattle my brain to think of some because I know Koscielny scored a lot of important ones.
He did. He's another one actually.
Was it Wigan or was it Hull in the final? And he injured himself, didn't he?
Yes. That was Hull in the final. Yeah, he did.
Yeah. I remember he put his body on the line to get it because I know he left in quite bad way, but he did score some quite important goals for us. One of the ones that were on my list, I got two from Kolo Touré. The first one is against Chelsea, where he's blitzing through, and they're like, which one of them's going to tackle him? And then it goes to Ashley Cole. He whips it to Will Tord, and then he whips it back, and Touré just sort of stumbles into it and gets it in. But it's the movement at first because I'm like, oh my God, that's what you normally think of his brother, not him. But he's just smacking people out of the way. They just can't get near. He's just bundling through. Because he was so good when he first cut. You were just like, who is this guy? Where did we find this guy? Because we need to find more of them because he's sensational. Like, what a player. And he was a midfielder to begin with, and we moved him back.
Yeah, he was. That's right.
It was good. But there's another one as well. He hit a free kick against Bolton. I don't know if you remember it. Flamini and Fabregas were over it like that, and they laid it off, and he just ran and pelted it along the floor.
Oh,
Like,
that was the first season at the Emirates, I think, wasn't it?
yeah, he absolutely headed
actually,
it.
I do remember that one.
Yeah. And then there was the Vermaelen one versus Blackburn, because he started to score. I remember the one at Everton on his debut.
That was a great goal, that Blackburn one, wasn't it?
Yeah, because we were 1-0. I remember being 1-0 down, and we were like, "Oh, someone's got to do something. Like, where's it going to come?" And he just went, "Have that," and just smacks one from about 30
He went through
yards.
I thought it seemed like he was scoring every week at that time, didn't he? Every week he was.
He was top scorer for a little while, weren't he?
He
couldn't stop.
That season he was top scorer for a little while. Yeah, he got a lot of goals, didn't he? He was incredible for a year or so, and then he got injured, and that was it, really, wasn't it? Unfortunately.
Yeah. And then the other one I put down was because I absolutely loved him, and I still love him now. As soon as we signed Per Mertesacker, I just fell in love with the guy. And it's literally the one that he got versus Spurs. You know, Walcott's in the corner, and you're thinking, oh my God, he's not going to get the cross in because they're trying to pick lumps out of him. He manages to do it, and you think, oh, that's a terrible cross. Look, it's gone over Podolski. Then all of a sudden, you didn't realise Mertesacker just comes from behind him, and you're like, oh right, there he is. And that was that one of the 5.
That was the second one. That was the second one.
5-2. Sorry, yeah. I was like, that was a brilliant one. But there's probably loads that I'm forgetting. But they're the first.
He scored in both games against Tottenham that season, actually, because he scored it in the away game as well. Well, I know we lost that one, so we don't want to talk about that one too much. Another Kolo Touré goal you missed was the semi-final winner against Villarreal at Highbury. The season we reached the final, we got the winner, didn't he, Kolo Touré?
Oh Christ,
against Villarreal. That was a good little goal as well, actually. It wasn't. I don't even think it was from a set piece, was it? It was just a cross from the wing, and he arrived in the box, didn't he, and started it in. So that was a big goal, obviously, from a central defender. Probably one of their most important goals.
There's another one from Gabriel that I'm trying to remember. Was it Benfica in the Europa where he sort of backwards headed it?
Oh, was that Olympiacos, wasn't it?
I was thinking it's one of the two. I can't remember.
Yeah, Olympiacos, that was. Yeah, that was a good goal, actually, wasn't it?
Brilliant, because that was another one when we needed it, and that was a big goal to get at the time.
It was, because we were sort of struggling a little bit in that game, and then he pops up with that one at the end, and that was a good goal. I mean, he looks like, actually, Gabriel, I know we just sort of mentioned him before, he looks like he could be the next in line of goal-scoring centre-backs that we've got, because, he's got 4 this season, I think he got 3 last season, he seems to be popping up with goals, alongside the lines of sort of Koscielny, who've got quite a few, obviously Tony Adams, who we've mentioned as well, so maybe he's the next in line, isn't he, goal-scoring centre-half for Arsenal, that seems to have been part of our history. I was actually looking today at the last time 2 central defenders scored for us in the same game.
Was it Everton? Was it against Everton?
No, I don't think so. The last one I could find, I may have missed one out, was when we drew 2-2 with Crystal Palace, the game when Granit Xhaka got involved in his little stuff that he did. Socrates and David Luiz scored our 2 goals that day. We drew. I don't think it's happened since then until the weekend, but I may have missed one against Everton, perhaps.
That could have been 3 centre halves, couldn't it? Because Chambers scored at the end, didn't he? And
well, he did actually, and then it was allowed. So that would have been a record, that probably having 3 centre halves. So I don't think that's probably ever.
I remember, was it against Fulham? Pascal Segan scored twice in one game. I remember that. I was just like, this is surreal. Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, we've had 1 centre back scoring twice in the game a few times, but 2 separate centre backs scoring in the same game. It's not actually as unusual as I thought it was. We had Mustafi and Socrates both scored against Barté in the Europa League in 2019 at the Emirates. Going back, Gallas and Vermaelen both scored against Everton. We won 6-1 on the first day of the season. They both scored in that game. That might have been the one that Dorsey might have been referring to, because that was Everton, perhaps. Funny enough, Gallas and Silvestre both scored against Tottenham in that 4-4 draw at the Emirates that season. So that was 2 centre halves in that game. Going back a lot, a bit further.
Silvestre out my brain.
Oh yeah, he did score against Tottenham, so that's fine.
Fair play,
Keown and Adams both scored against Panathinaikos in the Champions League at Wembley in '98. We won that game 2-1. They both scored in that one. Bold and Keown both scored at Barnsley in the League Cup in '95. So there's another game where 2 different centre-backs scored. And the only other one I could find from sort of recent-ish years was Bold and Adams both scored against Nottingham Forest in 1988. It was early in the 88-89 season. We won 4-1. and Bold and Adams both scored in that game. So there's probably been others as well before that, but I didn't really go back much further than that because I didn't think anyone would remember anyway. So it has happened a few times, but not obviously very regularly in history, but it's probably not surprising. But there's been a few times. I say there's been a few there, and of course, obviously, Holden and Gabriel this week was the latest one. So a couple of other ones that I can sort of remember from some sort of big goals from centre backs. Mertesacker scored the semi-final equaliser against Wigan at Wembley when we were losing. Last 5 minutes or so, he popped up a big goal there. Mertesacker there with that one. He did score in a 15 cup final as well, but that was was already 3-0 up at that point. So that goal maybe wasn't quite so important. What else have we got? My very first ever away game that I went to was against West Ham, funnily enough, was in 1981. And we won 2-1. And Chris White, who was a young player, played centre back, he scored that day. So that'll always be a big one for me, just because obviously it was my first away game and he scored in it as a centre back. So that was one that I remember. Let's have a look. Steve Bolt scored twice against Sampdoria in the semi-final, Cup Winners' Cup 95. Twice, he hadn't scored for about a year and a half, and he popped up with 2 goals in the same game. So that was quite an unusual one, a good one as well, for Steve Bolt to get a couple of goals. A lot of the others have been mentioned. Obviously, Campbell scoring in the Champions League final. There was another one that Koscielny got last game of the season at West Brom to seal a Champions League spot. We won 3-2. He got the winning goal
Ben
there.
Ayew scored that game as well.
Yeah, he did,
Yeah. I remember really liking him when he was on loan.
And Andre Santos as well from him scored as well.
Wow.
So
Nice.
we won 3-2.
Sorry to interrupt, but Francis Coquelin has scored as well. So they're 2-0 up at the moment, Villarreal.
Are they really?
Half time.
Wow. Incredible. That is absolutely incredible stuff. I don't know how to feel about that, actually, because obviously it would be nice in a way to have an all-English final again, but actually Liverpool getting knocked out wouldn't upset me too much. And actually Emery getting to the final would be an incredible story, wouldn't it? But anyway, Loki's found a one from a long while ago. O'Leary versus Man United, 3-0. I remember that game, yeah. Brian Talbot scored the other 2 goals. But yeah, that was an unusual, rare goal. I remember actually O'Leary scoring the day he broke the record for the appearances for the club against Norwich in '89. He wasn't playing regular at that time, but he broke the record that day. He did score. We won 4-3. It all kicked off at the end, and I think we got a big fight, and that led to the points deduction the following year against Man United again. So he scored in that game as well. That was a big goal for him personally, obviously. Obviously, we've got the big ones. Obviously, the Tony Adams one against Spurs. I remember Martin Keown scoring twice in the last 10 minutes against Shakhtar Donetsk in the Champions League at Highbury one year. We were losing 2-1. And he scored twice at the end. I think he might have come on off the bench, and I think they sort of threw him on to play up front actually. So he technically wasn't playing centre back, and he got 2 goals from corners in the last 5 minutes, and we won. That was quite unusual for him to get 2 goals in one game. He only scored about 10 in his whole career, didn't he? So that was quite lovely. William Gallas scored a few as well. There was a last-minute goal against Man United. Do you remember that at the Emirates when we drew 2-2? He got a last-minute equaliser.
Oh yeah.
Sort of didn't go in the goal. It was cleared away, but it went over the line. It was given, and that was quite a big goal. He did get 1 or 2 actually. I know we don't like William Gallas particularly, but he did get 2 big goals. No,
the fact that he's come in and taken the number 10 shirt, as soon as he did that, that was enough for me to know.
Well, yeah, I never quite understood. It never sat right with me. A centre back playing number 10 anyway. It just doesn't look right. And as Loki puts in the chat there, Gallas doesn't count. Well, no, he doesn't. But that goal did count at the time. It was quite a big goal at the time because we thought we could have won the league that year, perhaps at that particular time, but obviously we didn't. So yeah, there was a few good ones. I say it's a shame Melvin wasn't here for that because he'd probably gone back a bit longer and got some great ones from the 1960s and 70s and stuff like that. I say Frank
There's another Sol Campbell one. Was it Chelsea's first goal?
It was on Boxing Day. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
I
remember.
I mean, he got a few goals for Sol Campbell actually, didn't he?
So he scored against Everton, didn't he? He got one against Everton, I remember.
Oh, Melvin's in the chat now.
Melvin's in the chat now. He said Linegan. Yeah, we did mention Linegan, obviously, the cup final winner, of course, one of the most famous goals in Arsenal's history. So yeah, that was obviously a big goal. A big goal that was as well. But yeah, I can't really think of too many other really big goals from centre backs other than the ones that we've mentioned. Really, I do remember Koscielny scoring a last-minute winner at Burnley in 2016. I think we were in top of the league that day. His last-minute goal, he bundled one in. Obviously, it wasn't important going in because we didn't do anything that season, but at the time it was quite important. Last-minute winners always are quite nice. Obviously, Vermaelen must have got a few more that I've forgotten about because he scored quite a lot of goals that season. I think he scored. We beat Bolton 4-2 at the Emirates that season. I think we were losing at 2-0 at one point, and we got it back to 2-2. And I think he scored the goal to put us 3-2 up for Marlon actually in that game. And then I think Arshavin got the fourth. And that was quite, at the time, I think we were top of the league then as well, but obviously we didn't win it either. But anyway. And Melvin says Terry Neal used to take our penalties and scored one against Spurs at Highbury. Oh, did he? Okay. I know he used to take penalties, Terry Neal. Yeah, but actually, talking of Terry Neal, Willie Young, he was a centre back. He used to score some goals, didn't he? Willie Young, when he played for Arsenal, he popped up with a few big goals in Europe and stuff like that. I seem to remember. I was a bit young at the time, so I don't remember exact details of it. I seem to remember him getting a few. Melvin might know a few of them actually. A few Willie Young goals. He seemed to pop up with a few. In the big games, a bit like Tony Adams getting goals in the big games. He always seemed to be one of them sort of players that came up when you needed one. So that's another one. I can't really remember any in particular, but I think the season we got to the final in a Cup Winners' Cup in 1980, I think he got a couple of big goals on the run to that actually in some games that maybe we could have been knocked out, and he popped up with a header from a corner and got one for us. But yeah, I mean we've probably had over the years quite a few. Big goals from centre backs, haven't we? Actually, so maybe we shouldn't be so surprised from Saturday's result actually, because we do tend to get them. But yeah, getting two different ones in the same game is quite unusual. That was quite good actually. I sort of as soon as that, when Gabriel scored the second goal, that's the first thing I thought of. Oh, we've had two centre backs score in the same game, which is quite unusual. So I wanted to look into a little bit more. Sam in the chat there says, "Do you guys think Tottenham will get something from Liverpool?" Well, that's an interesting. Obviously, if Liverpool do get knocked out tonight, then wow, that's going to make a massive difference to their mindset, isn't it, for the weekend as well? Plus, there could be extra time in this game as well. That could add to the problems, couldn't it? So I don't know. I mean, what do you think, Dozzy? Do you think they can get a result against Liverpool? Because you'd imagine probably not on paper, but it's come at a time when they just played the semi-final, and if they, whatever happens tonight, could have an impact on the weekend, couldn't it, with the team selections and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I'm never going to say Tottenham can't get a result against anyone, because I said that when they played City, and that came back to bite me in the arse as well. So listen, I think we're all expecting Liverpool to win that game, and I think we're all basing our predictions and points, what we end up points tally and stuff, based on the fact that they're going to drop 3 points there. But I wouldn't listen when you got a player like Harry Kane. You're always going to score goals, unfortunately, and it's. If Liverpool are slightly off it, depending on what happens tonight or like fitness levels, etc., you just can't put anything past it. But you would like to think that Liverpool, if they go out tonight, then obviously the Premier League is going to be the biggest one left for them to really push for. So they're not going to want to let that slip as well. So you'd like to think that they bounce back. Yeah, I think we've just got to hope that Liverpool can beat them, because I think we need that really. Because if we beat Leeds, gives us a nice 5-point gap going into the North London derby, and we can kind of set up maybe slightly different with that game. And but we'll see. I'm not going to say they can't not get a result, because when you got players like Son and Kane that just score goals for fun, they're always going to be dangerous. But just depends on how many Mo Salah scores or Mane.
Yeah, I mean, you'd imagine, obviously, if you look at the game on paper, obviously the form Liverpool are in the Premier League, you'd think, yeah, they'll win. They're at home. You can't see any other result. But unfortunately, the Premier League isn't like that, is it? You do get results, as you said. Obviously, they got that result against City. Although they do have a good record against City, they don't have such a good record against Liverpool. And for some reason, those things tend to make a difference. I don't know why, because it's just historic results tend to sometimes play a part, don't they? Some teams just have a great results against certain clubs. And Spurs, it is Man City and not so much Liverpool. But I mean, what do you think, James? Do you think that Liverpool are going to sort of obviously help themselves, but maybe do us a little bit of a favour as well? Or do you think Spurs are capable of going there and getting a result, which would make even more pressure on us, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's tough, because I don't think anybody really expected us to get 9 points out of Chelsea, United and West Ham. So I can't write them off potentially getting something out of Liverpool. The only saving grace that I think is the same as what Dorsey said, is if they do get knocked out here, then they're going to want a reaction, and their fans are going to want a reaction. And I think if they do not, if they don't beat Spurs, I think their fans are not going to be happy at all. especially if they chuck the league, because it's that neck and neck. It's that neck and neck for top four, and it's that neck and neck for the league. And also, funny enough, the relegation zone looks a bit tight there as well. So you've got three sort of lots of drama going on there. And I mean, God Almighty, the Sky are already pushing the narrative that it's the biggest game. It's the biggest North London derby in the history. I'm like, it's not, but okay,
No.
you run with that if it makes you happy.
We've not won the league there twice before.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I saw some people on Twitter today, and then when I clicked their profile, born in 2008, I was like, oh, this makes sense now. I was a bit like, come on. I'm like, God Almighty. I'm like, there's time, don't even think I was a glint in my dad's eye in 71, let alone. But I'm like, I know that's more important than this one's going to be in 2 weeks' time. Like, bloody hell.
Obviously, those of us old enough, obviously 2004 as well.
Yeah,
of course. And yes, you could maybe, I suppose, you could look at it and say, well, that those 2 times that we won the league at White Hart Lane, there was nothing so much riding on it for Tottenham on those particular games other than stopping us. Whereas in this one, there's something riding on it for both teams. So from that perspective, it's an important game. But from an Arsenal perspective, any Arsenal fan that says, oh, this is our biggest game ever against Tottenham, I'm sorry, but no, it isn't. It's not even in the top 5, probably. We've had 2 semi-finals at Wembley in the FA Cup for a start-off against Tottenham. We've had those 2 games where we won the league. So there's 4 for a start-off that are much bigger than this one's ever going to be.
Yeah.
And, we played Tottenham before, haven't we, in games where we've both been battling to get in the top 4 towards the end of the season, in previous seasons as well. So, it's a big game. Don't get me wrong. It's a really big game. But it's not the biggest game ever between the 2 clubs. And if Sky want to say it is, let Sky, bash on. But don't think that they're right when they say that. As an Arsenal fan, you've got to understand that the history that Arsenal have got with Tottenham, that this isn't anywhere near the biggest game between the 2 sides.
I'll be keeping an eye on that Chelsea Wolves game as well.
Yeah.
Wolves are on holiday now, aren't they? Wolves are on holiday, aren't they? I think in a minute. I think they're done this season now, and I don't think they're going to be good enough to get a result.
Wouldn't complain if they did us a favour, though.
Well, no, we wouldn't complain, but I think that's unlikely looking at the way Wolves are playing. But you never know. I mean, the Premier League's difficult. It's difficult to predict, isn't it? Sam says there as well. Rich, do you think we have clinched top 4, or is there a mistake in us? Well, there's definitely a mistake in or 2 in us. I think we've seen that throughout the season, haven't we? We can't take anything for granted, and we've got 1 or 2. Potentially, we've got actually 4 potentially tricky games for one reason or another, different reasons, perhaps the teams that we've got to play. That there's, I don't think it's done yet at all. No, I don't. I think we've still got, I think we need to win potentially 3 of the 4 games to make sure that we do get it for definite. Can we do that? Yeah, I don't see why we can't. Will we do it is another matter, but we'll have to wait and see. We're in a good position.
I'm more worried about the Newcastle game out of all of them.
No, well, I think that's the toughest one that we've got.
I don't know. People are like, you're a lunatic. I'm like, am I? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it is the toughest game we've got. I think they're all tough in their own way for different reasons. I say Everton fighting for their life. They could need to win that game, so they're not going to just come and roll over. They're going to be battling for everything in that game, so that won't be easy. Leeds as well. We'll come on Leeds game in a minute. They're fighting for survival. They're not going to be easy to beat. Obviously, we know Tottenham, that's not going to be easy. North London derby and Newcastle, as you said. So I think we've got 4 tough games. People say, we've got an easier run. And I don't think we have. I think we've got 4 really difficult games, and if we can get 3 wins, I think that'll be enough. Well, it should be enough if we get 3 wins, but assuming that Tottenham don't win all theirs, then that might be different. But you'd imagine, can they beat us? Can they beat Liverpool and win the others? I don't know. They've got 2 easier games the last 2, certainly. They've got Burnley and Norwich, haven't they? So potentially that could be, if they beat us, and they've then got 2 potentially winnable games for them at the end, haven't they? Whereas we've got Newcastle, Everton, which are more difficult. But anyway, I don't want to even think about the other games too much, because you can't predict them, because you think, we're going to win that, are they going to win that? And it's like, it does your head in, doesn't it? Let's just get our games played. Let's win our games, or do the best that we can in our 4 games, and hope at the end of it, it's enough. Loki says there, I can still picture that Tottenham child crying when they got the full score. Yeah, that was that game where Koscielny scored against Newcastle, wasn't it? And, I think Tottenham had thought Newcastle had equalised. I had told that, wasn't they? And they obviously hadn't. And that was quite amusing, I suppose. But anyway, it's not nice to see a child get upset. But if it's to do with Tottenham, I suppose kind of,
in my head, I keep, every time I look at these fixtures, because they're all over the place in there at the moment. People are doing fixture comparisons and stuff. And every time I look at it, and I think if we can go into that Newcastle game still with that potential 5-point gap, if the results go the way they're going to go, then I think we should be okay. That's what I keep looking at the games. I think if we can get there still with that 5-point gap intact, then I think we'll be okay.
That would mean obviously us beating Leeds and drawing with Spurs, wouldn't it? And then Spurs losing or drawing with us, which is possible. Obviously, of course it is. But yeah, I mean, I think we'd all be quite happy with that. As Melvin rightly says there, though, let's just worry about Sunday. Exactly, yeah. We have to worry about our games, do the best that we can, and hopefully the results. Because I mean, talking of that, then why not? Let's look ahead then to Sunday's what is now a really massive game. Of course, Leeds is traditionally one of the old rivals of Arsenal, going back into the 1970s and stuff like that, you know, when we were battling for league titles and stuff with them. But it's always a big game, actually, Arsenal against Leeds. You know, Leeds are a big club, whatever people think. I know they've had their tough times, but they are a big club. It is always a big game. A few kind of little statistics about how we've done against them. We're actually unbeaten in the last 11 meetings against Leeds in all competitions, home and away. That actually goes back to the game in May 2003, which was the last game before the 49 game unbeaten run. That's the last time they beat us. Can you believe that? 2003, just before that 49 game. So looking at it that way, if we do lose to Leeds, if it starts another 49 game unbeaten run, I suppose we can maybe take that. But let's hope they don't, because that was a big defeat at the time, because it cost us a league title, didn't it? When they won a hybrid at that day. So but that is the last time
I remember that massively. My dad launched his mobile, and we got in the car, and he didn't speak to me the whole way home. Normally he'd have the radio on, everything. It was just dead silent the whole way home. I'm like,
that was
Mark Viduka, weren't it?
It was.
I was in London doing a work like exhibition and stuff. So I couldn't have my phone on me or anything, so I had no idea what any of the scores were or what was going on. And I remember getting off the train at Guildford, walking back in. I nipped into Barmaid, bought a pint. Mark Viduka scored. I walked straight back out again. Didn't even touch my pint. I was fuming, and it was just that was a good day. That one.
That was a shocker, actually, wasn't it? And you know, we basically gave the league title to Man United, didn't we, that day? But I suppose from that we got that fantastic invincible run, didn't we? So you know, I suppose we can look back on it now and maybe smile about it now. But obviously at the time it was horrible. But yeah, the fact they've not beaten us since, and yeah, as Melvin rightly says, there mostly cup games. Yeah, a lot of them have been cup games. We played them in the FA Cup quite a lot. We of course played them in the League Cup this year as well, didn't we? We beat them 2-0 at the Emirates earlier this season. So we've already played them once, and of course we did win 4-1 at Ellen Road as well when they were struggling a bit at Christmas time. Stephen says there, Viduka hated the cold. He was always injured when the winter came. Well, you can't blame him. He's from a hot place, isn't he? So he's going to not really understand the cold weather, isn't he, to be fair? But he certainly wasn't cold that day, was it, when he got that goal at Highbury? So he scored a few against us, I seem to remember, actually, Viduka over the years. But yeah, Loki says there, I remember 0-0 in the FA Cup at Highbury in '93. Siemens, best ever save. No, I remember that one. Was that the one where was it Lee Dixon missed a penalty in the last minute, fired it into the North Bank when we had a chance to win, and then we had another replay at their place, didn't we? And we ended up winning in the end. But yeah, we've had a few cup battles with Leeds actually over the years. Seem to have a lot of replays against them and stuff like that. And obviously the most famous ones, of course, the Thierry Henry one, isn't it? The FA Cup when he came back against Leeds at the Emirates and got that goal, which we'll all remember with obviously fondness as well. But
remember the one where he scored 4 goals as well. I was at that one.
Yeah, that was in the Invincible season, wasn't it? That one when he was falling over and he still scored. It was like everything he touched in that day, didn't it?
Was that Robinson in goal as well? I remember.
Yeah, it was Robinson in goal.
Yeah, he was always a bit of a bastard, wasn't
he? Yeah, so that was I mean he at that point in time, Thierry Henry was just unplayable, wasn't he?
Yeah, that was on mute. Yeah, Paul Robinson loved conceding a goal against us, didn't he? I remember even when he was at Blackburn and stuff, we used to put a few past him then.
Yeah, we did. Yeah,
and Tottenham.
Yeah, Tottenham, exactly. Yeah, but yeah, Thierry Henry, basically at that time he was just unplayable, wasn't he? At that particular time, just incredible stuff. Yeah, brilliant that was. Loki says there 4-0 away. Right, did Wright get a hat-trick away at Leeds? I remember he got that chip, didn't he, against Lukic that time at Ellen Road when he chipped Lukic. I don't think he got a hat-trick that day, did he? I think we won that game. But we have had some, we've had some good results against Leeds in recent years. In fact, we've only lost 10 of the last 60 games that we've played against them, going back to 1973. So there you go. Only 10 in the last 60. We've won 28 of them games. So we have got a good record against them. Obviously, last season's game at the Emirates was at 4-2. Aubameyang got a hat-trick. Talking of hat-tricks, Aubameyang got a hat-trick, didn't he, last season's game? I wonder what ever happened to him. And Hector Bellerin actually scored the other goal, and he's not at the club either anymore, so there you go. But yeah, we were 4-0 up, I think, in that game, wasn't we? And then Leeds scored 2 goals. We got a bit sloppy at the end, didn't we? And let them back into it a little bit. But yeah, we obviously won that comfortably in the end, didn't we? So obviously Sunday, then it's going to be a completely different game to last season. Leeds have picked up, haven't they, under their new manager, and they're playing a lot better. But we're at home. We're in good form, as we know, or certainly good run of results that we've had. I mean, Dorsey, what are you anticipating? Because I actually think this could be a really difficult game.
Like you said earlier on, they're all going to be tough. You know, as we check off these games, regardless of results, the pressure is just going to amplify over the course of these next 4 games. And you would like to think that coming off the back of the results that we've had, obviously Chelsea United and then obviously away to West Ham, the lads have got to be in a good place, haven't they? So you would think going into this game, we know that the only thing really that is a bit of a concern is complacency. The fact that we are at home, they are a team further down the table. That's the only thing where I think maybe that as long as we can stop that from kicking in, we've got to start games better than we did against West Ham. We've got to start quick. If we can get a nice early goal, just first 15, 20 minutes, it just settles the nerves a little bit and allows us to be able to play a bit of football. So I am expecting us to win it. I know it will be a tough game. I certainly don't think it's going to be 2-3, 4-0 or anything like that. I think it'd be a tight game, but I think I'd like to think we've got enough in us to win it, as long as there's no injury concerns. If we can get Ben White back, if Tommy's fit, obviously he's come off again against West Ham, so we just have to see. But yeah, I'm confident that we can pick up the 3 points in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I am confident that we can win, but I think that it's not going to be easy. Melvin says they were shocking against City over the weekend. Yeah, but I mean, most teams look shocking against City, don't they? I mean, we look shocking against City mostly. So, you know, I don't think we can judge Leeds on a game against, or anyone against a game against Man City particularly. I do think they have picked up their form since the new manager's come in. Maybe new manager bounce and stuff like that, and revitalised them a little bit. And they've certainly got better. Have they got enough to come to the Emirates and get a result? I don't know. I mean, what are you thinking, James, ahead of this one? Obviously, we know how important the game is for us, but as Loki rightly says there, Leeds need the points because they're not clear. Exactly, they do. They're desperate for the points. They'll be desperate for anything they can get from this game. And they're going to fight and battle for everything, aren't they? So, I mean, what are you kind of anticipating for this? Do you think it's going to be a game that we maybe need to be patient, or do you think we should be too good for them?
I think we're too good for them. But I do agree with what Loki said, and that's what I think might come into play. Is that they're going to try and actually come out and play a game. They're not going to sit back and I think we're just too good and we're just going to pick them off. I'm predicting another 3-1 in.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I think.
Okay.
I think we'll grind it at stages, but we've got more than enough to see that out. I mean, the West Ham game the other day, Odegaard, I know he got a bit of flack here and there, but Declan Rice was just on him the whole game. It was just like, you know, he just followed him and cut off all those passing lanes. Leeds might look at that and go, that's the kind of thing that we're going to do. But I don't think they've got a player at the calibre of what Declan Rice is. So I think they'll try, and Odegaard should just be able to pick it through. He'll have a game probably on Sunday and everyone will go, well, why did I question him last week? You know, he's class. It's just, I couldn't believe it. I was like, he's had one bad game in a couple. You know, I thought Martinelli had a terrible game against West Ham, but nobody didn't seem anything about him. It's like, you know, maybe it's because it's not your favourite who's on the back of his shirt. You know, I don't know.
I mean, to be honest with you, it's not so much that Odegaard had a bad game. Like you said, Declan Rice just played well against him. And, you know, I think players have bad games sometimes because they're just off form themselves. But when the player that's maybe marking you has a great game and stops you from getting involved, it's not really you've had a bad game. You just haven't been able to influence the game due to the other team. And I think that's more the case of it. I don't think he had a bad game necessarily. He just wasn't able to stamp his authority on the game due to the fact that he was marked out of the game. It happens, isn't it? Even the greatest players get marked out of games sometimes, and they just can't have influence. And maybe
what I did like was that Eddie saw that and he come deep a bit and tried to create a few more things. You know, there was facets to
Eddie played well, didn't he?
I didn't even know that he had that in his locker. You know, I've been someone that's been quite respectful to him, but I didn't know he had that dimension to him. So I was like, fair enough. You know, he done everything but score. I mean, the one from El Neni, I'm like, oh, come on, mate. You have to bury that.
Yeah,
like, the service deserved it.
Well, he did, and it actually was quite unlucky. But yeah, he should really score that. I mean, I think now he's almost, well, he has played his way into the side, hasn't he? Because Lacazette was fit. He was on the bench on Sunday, and you'd imagine that Eddie's going to start again at the weekend. I would say because he's grown into the team, hasn't he? The last few games, he's got better and better. Yes, he's not scored in the last three after getting in the last two, so after getting them 2 goals against Chelsea, but he's had a big influence, hasn't he, in the way that he's played, and he's coming in onto his, and maybe, he did say, I mean, I saw him at the interview on YouTube a few weeks ago saying he's never had a run in a team to really show what he can do, and maybe now he's got that run, and maybe we haven't seen that in him before because he hasn't played enough, and maybe now he's playing, we can start to see actually he's got a little bit more to his game than maybe we assumed that he had, and fair play to him because he is playing well, and he's not quite solved the goal scoring issue yet. I mean, he started 4 games, only scored in one of them, 1 out of 4 games that he started, which, if that was Lacazette or that was Aubameyang, people would be on their back. Well, he's not scoring enough. He's not scoring enough goals. He has got 2 goals in those 4 games.
The thing I'll say to that is though, if you remember, there were games where Aubameyang and Lacazette were doing absolutely nothing. You could tell you couldn't even tell they were there. At least with Nketiah, yes, they're sitters, especially the one with De Gea where he kicked it straight down his throat, and then the one, like I said, the one from El Neni, but they weren't getting in those kind of positions. And I mean, he's a similar person like Lacazette in that he's probably not going to be here at the end, but he's willing to go, look, these last 5 games, 4 games, whatever it is, I will do you a job. And then maybe, just maybe.
And he's putting himself in a shop window, isn't he? As well.
Yes. Yeah. But I think what the guys on Sky said to an extent was quite true, where they're like, everywhere that he goes now will be a downgrade. But for me, I look at it and think we can't keep them all. As much as I think Rob Holding's a great guy, he's probably going to go. As much as I think El Neni, when he comes in, does a great job, he's probably going to want to go. And Eddie's the same. Because if we're going to sign 2 strikers, okay, Arteta's had 6 windows and not signed any, but I think he hasn't got a choice this time around. No, but what marquee striker, people are saying it's going to be Gabriel Jesus. Gabriel Jesus is not going to sit on the bench because Nketiah's playing, especially if he's leaving Man City to sign for us. I just don't see it. And that's even, if we finish even higher up and we look at, these even bigger ones than Gabriel Jesus, they're not going to sit on the bench because Nketiah's playing. So
no, you do need backups, don't you?
100%. Yeah, that's the thing. But I don't.
You're getting rid of Holding and El Neni and Nketiah. Well, they're not the players that are going to be playing in the first team if you want to progress, but they are decent squad players who come in and always do a job. I mean, Eddie's showing what he can do.
They never moan. They never complained.
Rob Holding always does a job, doesn't he? Always. And these are players that, it's difficult to keep good players as squad players because they should be playing and they want to play. And if they're not playing, they're going to be kicking off and wanting to move and stuff like that. And you can understand that if they're a good player. So when you've got some decent squad players that seem happy to be in the squad, seem happy to play the odd game and always give 100% when they do, I think we should try to keep them if we can. I'm not saying Eddie Nketiah is maybe the best example. I think certainly El Neni and Holding, I would like to keep them in the squad because I think they're useful players to have and they do a great job when they're needed. But yes, they're not going to be. You want one of them to be playing every week if we want to progress to the next level because they're not good enough for that. We all know that. But they are good players to have in the squad to come in. And maybe Eddie Nketiah could be that. If we do buy 2 big strikers or at least 1 big striker and another good striker in the summer, and Eddie Nketiah was the 3rd choice striker, you'd be quite happy with that because if he has to play, and he will get games in Europa League or Champions League, if we're in it, and if he's going to get games, and if he has to do a job in the Premier League, you can think he can come in and do something because we've seen it. So, can we afford to get rid of everybody? No, probably not. But will they be happy to be bit part players? In the future, we'll have to see. I mean, El Neni and Holding probably are. With El Neni, with Nketiah now, we don't know. He's had a taste of it now, isn't he? Playing game after game in the Premier League, you might want to keep that. And you might want to look elsewhere. So we'll see. But
I think the manager wants to keep all 3, ideally.
Yeah, I think all 3 will stay. I really do. I think Eddie. Yeah. Like, I can't remember whether it was you, Rich, or James that said it earlier, but wherever Eddie goes, it's going to be a downward step.
I will. Yeah.
And, I mean, the guy 4 weeks ago, people were saying he wasn't good enough for the Premier League, so you'd be looking that he'd be dropping down to the Championship. So I think he's got every intention to stick around if he can. But we got to remember all these players that we got out on loan as well. You've got people like obviously Bellerin. again likely to go. But you know, Nelson, you got all these players that are out on loan. So how much can you do in one window? Because I know Mikel's obviously done it over the course of 3 or 4 windows now. So it's I'll be surprised if Holding goes. I'll be surprised if Elneny goes. I wouldn't be too shocked if Nketiah goes, but I think if they can strike a deal with the amount of games that we're going to have next season, hopefully he'll get more game time. So he'd be quite happy to maybe give it one more season. But Lacazette's obviously going to go. You can't do it all in one window. So I think you've got to try and keep that stability there as well. I think more now it's numbers, isn't it, that we need? Obviously quality. We obviously need that next level of quality player in. But
I think if you go into next year, Gabriel, White, Holding, and Saliba, if we can convince Saliba,
Saliba's
I
coming
think
back
that's
as
great.
well.
I think that's a good. You got 4 different options. You know, if you want the ball player, you can have him with White. If and Gabriel, they're more comfortable. But I'm like, if you want the 2 big boys, you can do it that way. You know, you got the options that you can have. Are brilliant. I mean, you've got Tommy Asu that can jump in there if you really want to go for it and buy a new right back. You've got so many different ways that you can do it. It's
I'm interested to see what happens with Saliba, because he's obviously had such a good season out in France. He's played week in, week out, arguably their most important play. He's been absolutely phenomenal. But on the flip side of that, Arsenal are a bigger club. He is going to want to come back and he is going to want to prove himself. But Gabriel and Ben White have built up a really strong partnership. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there, because I'm fully expecting him to come back and for him to obviously stay. And I know there's talks about extending his contract at Arsenal. So is he going to want to sign that right now with any? He's not got any guarantees, is he? So
that's the thing. He's been playing regularly, hasn't he? And when a player's been playing regularly,
you can't let a player like that go.
Yeah.
Can't, because he's a different level. So it'll be interesting to see how Mikel manages that situation, because
he's played 49 games this season as well, which is massive. Which sort of for me justifies the reason that he was loaned out, because he was never going to get 49 games for us. No way. No way.
He's twice the player now he was.
Well, that as well. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It was exactly the right decision to let him go out on loan. And you think obviously it's not the strongest of leagues, but you still are playing against Neymar, you still are playing against Messi, you're still playing against Mbappe. And in every single one of those games, he's held his own, and there's been clips. And
people forget they're still the biggest club in France. PSG can throw it around as much as they like. But Marseille have won the European. You know, they're still a much bigger club than PSG are.
Well, I say we kind of expect Liverpool to go through, don't we? I suppose. Loki's gone for 3-1 as well. They score for there you go. That we one we were talking about before, coming from behind and winning. We haven't done that very often. I mean, Dawes, you didn't give a score prediction. What's your score prediction for Sunday against Leeds?
I must admit, 3-1 does sound good. I do fancy us to get a few goals. But just to mix it up a bit, I'm going to go 2-0. I want to see if we can keep a clean sheet. I'll take a 2-0 win.
Well, any win will do, won't it? Let's be honest. I mean, a 2-0 or 3-1 will be quite. I actually think it is going to be a really, really difficult game, and I think we're going to have to be really patient. And I think that if we can get an early goal, fantastic. But I'm not sure if we will. I think we're going to have to just, be patient and bide our time and create the opportunities when we can. I actually think it might end up 1-0. I think it might be a 1-0. It might be a really tense, tight 1-0. But I think we will have enough to beat them, but I don't think it's going to be. Straightforward at all. Loki says Elneny is a fine squad player. I agree. But the problem that we're going to have is it depends on who we buy in the summer and what positions as to which squad players we can keep. Yeah, we need more numbers. We know that we're short of numbers. We look at the bench every week with the kids on and stuff like that. So we do need numbers, and I personally wouldn't get rid of Elneny or Holding. Personally, I would keep both of them because I think they are really solid squad players, and they're the sort of players that you need, especially when you've got extra games next season. So I would definitely keep both of them. But I guess it's not just as simple as that, is it? It's down to what they want in their career as well. They both seem pretty happy, but do they not want to play more games? Of course they do. Everyone wants to play more games, don't they? Loki's got a point. He says Old Ellen Road was a great away day. It certainly was. I remember standing in that terrace along the side when it used to be raining and stuff like that in the 90s and whatever, when they came back to the Premier League. That was interesting away game, wasn't it? Back in the day, we had a few good away games at Ellen Road. A few 2-2 draws, I seem to remember as well. Limpar got a great goal in one of them, didn't he? I seem to remember that. Neil says, "Hi lads." He says, "Hope you all are well." Yeah, we're doing well, mate. Obviously, it's been a good week again for Arsenal, hasn't it? With another victory, and it's just getting a little bit tense at the minute, though, isn't it? With the last few games of the season, I think that the tension is going to really start to show, and that may be in a way, maybe we're lucky in the fact that we're playing two teams that's got a relegation battle on their hands, so they're going to be tense as well. We've got obviously the North London derby. We know how tense that's going to be, but Tottenham are going to be under pressure as well. And it's only maybe Newcastle, the only team that we've got to play that don't really have anything to play for, especially because they can't get relegated, they can't get Europe, they're just muddling around. But they've had a great run of form they've been on, especially at home. I know Liverpool beat them at the weekend, but as I think they won the previous 6 at home before that. So, they've got nothing to play for, but they're nice and relaxed, aren't they? And maybe that might make a difference. But at least the other teams that we're playing have all got pressure on them as well. So that can maybe help us slightly. Perhaps we'll have to see. Stephen says that Liverpool have pulled it back. It's 2-1 tonight. So, yeah, we just heard that one. So it looks like they might be going through. Neil says Defo winning on Sunday. He's gone 3-1 as well. Everyone's going 3-1 tonight, aren't they? Well, here we go. So it definitely won't be 3-1.
Neil's on a good run at the moment. He's smashing
actually.
it with predictions. He said 3rd weeks ago. So if he gets that right, like I said, he's smashing it on the predictions at the moment.
It just concerns me. Too many people have said 3-1, so it seems unlikely to happen. Because too many people have predicted it. So, but anyway, I mean, if it is 3-1, great. It'd be a decent, very good result for us. But yeah, I mean, let's just win the game. I don't really care what the score is. I've got to be honest. I've been saying this for a while. Let's just win the game. If it's a scrappy 1-0, brilliant. If we play, fantastic football and win 5-0, then that's great as well. Neil says, cheers, James, for obviously, giving him a shout out for his predictions there. Yeah, I mean, I think last time he was on the show, he got the score right, didn't he? I think as well. So he's doing pretty well at the minute.
Yeah, he's doing great. Yeah, he's smashing it. Like I said, he's smashing it.
So whatever the lottery numbers are, Neil, put them on the screen as well, so we can all win some money as well. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Don't keep it to yourself. Come on. And Neil says, yeah, exactly. We just need 12 points. Well, we do. I think maybe 9 points might be enough, if I'm honest. But let's get the 12 anyway, just to be certain. We can't rely on 9 necessarily. But I think if whatever points we get, I think if 3 of them are against Tottenham, then almost that's going to be enough, isn't it, on its own? Not just on its own if we lose the others, but if 3 of the points that we get are against Spurs and we get others as well, then I think that's probably going to be enough. But can we get a Tottenham win when we talk about that game, obviously, next week, because it is obviously next week that we play it. So that is going to be a massive game without a shadow of a doubt. Neil says, yeah, I'm greedy. I want 3rd. Well, I mean, 3rd would be great. Not that it makes an awful lot of difference, 4th or 3rd, really. I mean, yeah, it'd be nice to miss above Chelsea. And it would be nice, wouldn't it, actually, maybe in a way, if Chelsea were to drop out of the top 4 completely. I know it might mean Spurs getting there, but it would be quite funny when they were title changes apparently at the start of the season. And of course now they might not have any money because Abramovich maybe wanting all his money back, in which case they'll buy any players, have to sell off their squad, and they'll probably end up getting relegated and doing a Leeds, funnily enough, and ending up in League One or somewhere like that. So it'd be a shame, wouldn't it, if that happened to Chelsea?
Funny, because me and Neil both predicted Chelsea to win the league before a ball was kicked at the start of the season. We both thought
many people did.
Yeah.
Well, they won the Champions League, didn't they? They had a great.
Yeah, I got sucked in. Yeah, I got sucked in.
Yeah, I think we all did actually. They started this season well as well, didn't they? Obviously, they beat us at the Emirates. They won their first few games. And they looked good, didn't they?
was looking good.
He was. And it's all gone a little bit Pete Tong for him. But having said that,
couldn't happen to a nicer bunch of people.
Well, it couldn't, could it? They're only FA Cup final, I suppose. So that's something they've got to look forward to, haven't they? But anyway, Neil says the Spurs game is key, but for some reason I'm more concerned with Newcastle. Well, we said that earlier actually. I know you wasn't in the show, he was at work, but yeah, we were saying that. Me and James both said we think that's our toughest game, Newcastle away, the one we're most worried about actually, and I think it is. I'm going to that game as well, so I'm hoping we win because otherwise it would be a nightmare. But anyway. But no, I mean, yeah, I think we all thought Chelsea would certainly be challenging for the league this year, and it hasn't quite worked out. When I say what the future holds for them, I mean that could be quite interesting actually, because Chelsea may be on the way out, so we don't have to worry about them in the top 4 challenging. But you've got Newcastle maybe coming in to replace them. That's the only danger, is it? So it might not necessarily make a lot of difference if Newcastle jump in their place.
So Chelsea will find a way around it. They won't.
No,
They
will,
won't.
probably.
They won't go away, unfortunately.
Well, I don't know. We'll have to see. I'm kind of hopeful because they're the one club that I've just been so annoyed that they got all that money, really, because they don't deserve it. Let's be honest. And we don't want them to keep it. And Loki says their chickens always lose in the end. It's their destiny. Well, it seems to be their destiny, doesn't it? But I've always thought this, and when they got to the Champions League final the other year, and when they were sort of looking as though they might possibly win the league, I kept thinking that yes, they always blow it, but one year they're not going to. It's just the law of averages says eventually they won't blow it at some point, and it worries me that when that's going to be, what season that's going to be. I mean, I'm not assuming it's going to be this season in particular, but at one time or other, they can't keep going this long, can they, without winning anything? Tottenham, surely. They just the law of averages suggests that eventually they will do something. They will, won't they? You'd imagine, but let's just hope it isn't for a while yet. Neil says, you'll bring us luck, Rich. Well, I don't know about that. I'm glad you're going defo winning now. Well, yeah, I've got 100% record this season. Every game I've been to, we've won, but there you go. I haven't seen us lose for, obviously, I didn't go to any games last season because of lockdown. So I can't remember last time I'll tell you last time I saw us lose. Sheffield United in Emery's, dying embers of Emery. That's the last game I saw us lose, and we lost 1-0 there. So that was a long time ago. So let's hope I can keep that run going and we don't lose again. Melvin says, if it wasn't Chelsea, it might have been Spurs for the Russians' money. Yeah, that's true, but it is Chelsea, so we'll have to enjoy their demise, I think, because it's been long overdue, hasn't it? And I just want Man City to be next. Then that'd be nice. Get rid of them two out of the equation, and then we'll get back to the old days. Arsenal, Man United, maybe battling it out for the league again. That's what we want, don't we? Let them bring those days back. And all these new clubs with new money, we don't want them involved at all. It's not right. We need to go back to the good old days of the traditional clubs fighting for the league and stuff like that. And that's what we want to see. None of this new stuff. We don't like that. I mean, that's good stuff. I mean, we're all predicting a win against Leeds, which is nice. And let's hope that that's the case. And then, I mean, obviously Liverpool, Tottenham is before us, isn't it? Because they're playing on Saturday, aren't they? They're playing, Saturday. So, obviously, if Spurs have got a result, it puts even more pressure on us, I guess. But we can only win our games. We can't worry about what Tottenham do. Obviously, we've got to play them, so we can worry about them. But we just have to win our games, don't we? If they win theirs, they win them. We just have to beat them or draw with them at their ground and do what we have to do. I mean, everyone keeps saying it's in our hands, but actually it's in Tottenham's hands as well. Because if they win every game, they'll finish fourth. If we win every game, we'll finish fourth. But we are obviously playing each other, so it's kind of in both our hands, really, to a certain degree. But we just have to worry about ourselves, win our games, and that's all we can do. And hopefully, 3-1 on Sunday, wouldn't it? It would be good if we. Yeah, I think we'll all take 3-1, won't we? We'll have to see. I think it's going to be tough. I really do, but let's see how that goes. But yeah, I mean, at least at the minute we can, we've had some great results over the last couple of weeks. It's been a good turnaround following that terrible run we had just before. And let's hope that we're finding form at the right time. If you're gonna go on a good run of wins, the best time to go on a good run of wins at the end of the season, isn't it? When things are up for grabs and things count. It's all right. It's all very well winning games in December and January and all them kind of places. Yeah, that's great. But at the end of the season, you need to win the games if you're fighting for stuff. It's 2-2 Liverpool now. Wow, they've come back from 2-0 down, so it looks like they're going through to the final. Liverpool. So hopefully they'll be buzzing them for the weekend, won't they? Now they've got through, they'll be well up for that game now on Saturday. Russ says, "Well, evening, lads." Yeah, good evening, Russ. Hope you are well, mate. And looking forward, obviously, to the game on Sunday, of course, against Leeds. So yeah, brilliant. So that's the Tuesday clinic for today. They'll say nice, good, positive stuff tonight, as always, because we're doing well at the minute, which is nice. So no negativity to bog us down or anything like that, which is good. Dorsey, thank you very much for joining us. Again, you enjoyed the show?
Yeah, always, mate. I don't know why we don't just do what we did in 2004, just win every game. I mean, it makes it a lot easier.
I can't understand why we don't. It's pretty inconsiderate of them to keep losing them, isn't it, really?
Be a lot less stressful for us. But, hey, listen, we just got to enjoy the last 4 weeks, haven't we? Just try and enjoy it as much as we can. I'd rather be in the mix than not in it. It's always going to be stressful, but just got to get behind the lads and hopefully we can get it over the line. So, but yeah, good show, positive at the moment. Big game Sunday again. Another 3 points, and we roll into North London and see if we can take something off that lot, and then we'll be all right, I think. But one game at a time. One game at a time.
Yeah, one game at a time. Exactly. We worry about the Tottenham game next week when we've got past Leeds. But maybe, I mean, you're saying it's stressful. And I mean, even in 2004, there were still moments of stress in that season, wasn't there? There was plenty of. We never seem to do things the easy way generally, do we? Arsenal seems to be the Arsenal way, so we're never going to have things easy, are we? But ultimately, in a way, that makes it more exciting, doesn't it? What would be the point of being 10 points clear now with 4 games left? It'd be boring, wouldn't it? Because we'd only need one more win, and it's like, what do you do with the other 3 games? Do you know what I mean? It'd be pointless, won't it? At least now, every single game matters, so it's exciting. And it's intense, and it makes it more interesting, I guess. But yeah, maybe a little bit less stressful on the heart, maybe. But anyway, Loki says a chicken on a basketball for a badge. 5,182 days since they won the league. Is that how long it is since they won the league? Is it? Wow, that is quite a long time, isn't it? Really. But anyway, that's a shame, isn't it? And it's going to end up being quite a lot more than that before they win it again, I would imagine, by the look of it. Neil says, glad I caught the end, lads. Stay well, and let's get behind the lads and clinch a third. Come on, well, it's there, isn't it? We're only 3 points behind, so who knows? Anything can happen. And Neil says, stay safe and yourself, mate. Yeah, look forward to speaking to you again very soon. And James as well, thank you for coming on. You enjoyed the show?
No worries. Yeah, as always, thank you very, very much. And like Neil said, just come on, let's back them and let's beat Leeds. Let's get something at their ground and shut them up. Let's put Newcastle back in the box, and then let's relegate Ashley Cole on the last day. Let's go. Come on. Let's get it done.
That'd be lovely, wouldn't it?
It would. I mean, to be fair, I mean, Everton are, such a famous old club, and I've got nothing really against them, and I've got to be honest.
No, same. Yeah. No, I haven't. Yeah.
When you look at it, for a club like that to be relegated, would be quite a big statement, actually, because it's not often those sort of clubs get relegated out of the Premier League, is it really? It isn't. It doesn't happen. I mean, Everton have been relegated at all, have they, since 1953 or whatever it was, the last time they were relegated. So it's only we're the only other club with a longer unbeaten spell in the top flight. So it would be a massive shock, actually. It's almost like a sort of thing that you kind of like to see, don't you, when these things happen. It's a shock, but as long as it's not your club, you can kind of look at it and think, well, you know what I mean? And if Everton went down, it would be a massive story, wouldn't it, actually, of the season if they did. And
all their own doing again, another lot that got, okay, it was partly foreign investment that used to be a part of us, but they've just completely done it the wrong way. They've spent it awful. I mean, still to this day, I think, how did we get 35 million out of them for Iwobi? They must have absolute robbery. But hey,
well, to be fair,
we makes up for all of those players we let go for free, didn't it?
Yeah.
We did pay 70 million for Pepe as well, don't forget. So,
Yeah, 72,
swings and roundabouts, isn't it, I guess. But
True.
anyway,
40 million for Oxlade-Chamberlain as well, didn't we?
Yeah, we did, yeah. I mean, it's funny, isn't it? I mean, a lot of we get criticised a lot for not getting enough money back on players, but those two, we incredible, really, what we made from them two, isn't it? Really.
The only problem is that's the only two.
Well, yeah, they are. It is the only two, really. Yeah, we have let a lot of players go. Loki says, "Up the Gunners." Cheers, indeed. Thanks you for watching. Melvin says, "See you Sunday, Neil, at the game, of course." And Neil says, "Yeah, see you Sunday." And Stephen says, "3-2 at Liverpool." Wow, is it really? What a turnaround that would be from 2-0 down. Brilliant stuff.
Yeah, that's that one done then.
Yeah. It looks like it's Liverpool in the final. Will they be playing Manchester City? I would say they probably will be, but we'll find that out obviously tomorrow. But well, congratulations to Liverpool for getting to another Champions League final. It's a bit boring now. They seem to be there every year, don't they? Maybe they should give someone else a chance.
Yeah, Bournemouth come up as well, didn't they? I think they beat Forest, so they're up as well. Yeah.
Are they up automatically?
Yeah, they're second, and Fulham won the league weeks ago, didn't they? Because they've been pumping teams by 6 goals since Christmas or something.
Well, Mitrovic, isn't it? It's got 43 goals.
He's like that Michael Chopra, though. He scores them in that division, and then when he comes to Prem, he can't find the net at all.
No.
It's a bit like Pookie a little bit, and he gets a lot of goals in the Championship. I mean, he does score a few in the Premier League, to be fair, in a struggling team. He's all right, Pookie, isn't he? He could probably do a job for someone else in the Premier League, actually. But he's another one of them, isn't he? You drop him down to that level, he scores loads of goals. He's not quite at that Premier League level, is he? And Mitrovic is another one, isn't he? Unfortunately. But yeah, see what happens next season with Fulham again. They're a bit up and down. Him and Norwich, they keep missing each other, don't they? One's up, one's down every year. Someone said the other day they haven't played each other for years because they keep going up and down the same year, don't they? So they keep missing out. But anyway, but yeah. So thank you, obviously, to Dorsey and James. Thanks to all you guys in the chat as well. Some great comments there. Thank you for watching. Please give it a like as well. Don't forget to subscribe. I'm back tomorrow actually with live watch along the Arsenal women playing Tottenham. The first North London derby of the week is tomorrow at the Emirates. Of course, a rearranged game. I was due to be at the game originally when it was first meant to be played in March, but due to Tottenham getting scared and pulling out, it got rearranged and I can't go now. But anyway, that is tomorrow. Kicks off at 7:15, so I'll be live at 7 o'clock for a bit of build up to that game. And then, of course, the full watch along as always for that. That is going to be a good game. Obviously, Arsenal women need to win to stay in the title race, so that's going to be good. Let's hope Tottenham can't deny us that at least. And then on Friday, it's the Arsenal Women's Show again. The last weekend of the WSL actually is this weekend as well. So some big games there. Obviously, Arsenal playing away at West Ham in the final game. Chelsea at home to Man U. So we'll be covering both of them games as well. To see if
Dagenham's ground, that is.
It is at Dagenham's ground. But if I wanted to go to that, and I was going to go, but we ended up going to the game on Sunday instead.
Yeah.
The Arsenal women, and it's difficult to get down 2 weeks running. Just took a gamble, really, which game to go. It turned out all right, could be 1-7-0, so that was good. It was a good game. But I was intending to go to the West Ham game at Dagenham ground. But unfortunately, don't think I'll be able to make that now on Sunday. So I'll be doing coverage on the channel anyway. So that'll be good. Chelsea, they've got to play Man United at home. Man United need a result to get in the Champions League. So it's going to be a tense afternoon, I'm sure, in the WSL on Sunday. And then, of course, after that, it is the Arsenal game against Leeds. The Sunday's going to be quite a stressful day, actually. So I think I might need to take next week off work just to recover from all the stress of Sunday, maybe, but we'll see. Hopefully, Arsenal win both games. It's not a problem. But we have to beat Spurs tomorrow first, the women. So join me for that 7 o'clock tomorrow night. That'll be good. So hopefully, that might set the tone for the North London derby the following week. 2 Arsenal wins against Tottenham would be nice, wouldn't it? In a week, we'll quite enjoy that, won't we? I'm sure. But let's hope for the best on that one. So yeah, that's tomorrow. So please join me for that. And then I'll say for the other stuff at the weekend as well. So those coming up on the channel. So thank you to Dorsey as always. Thank you to James, who's become a bit of a regular now, which is nice. We do enjoy James's company on the show as well. We'll see you again very soon. And hopefully Melvin will be back next week as well to join us as well. So yeah, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I will see you tomorrow for the women's game. And in the meantime, of course, as always, come on, you Gunners. Let's do this. We're nearly there. Come on, let's do it. Come on. See you later, guys. Cheers. See you tomorrow.
Somebody got up and he sang it.